This is a book that's driven by Chris's storytelling talents and tremendously engaging voice that you'll discover. Becoming Little Shell is a work that looks into the future as much as it does in the past, beautifully honoring all who helped him and his Little Shell community come home. Chris.
Amigwech. Buju, Indinoe Maganadug. Chris Kashin Ikishin. That is hello, all of my relatives in Anishinaabe, followed by you may call me Chris in Michif, which are the two languages of my people who are the Little Shell tribe of Chippewa Indians. And we are the most recent tribe to have our federal recognition, federal restoration, as we call it now, after more than 150 years of being considered the landless Indians of Montana. So becoming Little Shell kind of serves like it's like a double meaning title because it's how we came to be called the Little Shell tribe, how we were the landless Indians, and then also how I became a member of the Little Shell tribe after growing up in a family where my father and my grandfather both denied their indigenous heritage, and kind of the weird juxtaposition of my identity because grandma said we were uh, Chippewa, and if grandma's the boss, then she's right, and it didn't really matter what dad said. So that was a curiosity that I grew up with, always identifying as Chippewa without really knowing what it means. So, as I got older and became more interested in what that means, and particularly after my father passed away in 2014, I really doubled down in trying to find out where he kind of came from, and as a result, also where I come from. And my initial idea for the book was to be more of kind of a historical nonfiction, narrative nonfiction type thing with dates and all that kind of stuff. And Daniel Slager at Milkweed kind of urged me to make it more personal, and that kind of veered into memoir territory, which wasn't necessarily what I anticipated, but also didn't come to a surprise either. And the result, just based on what people are saying about it, is Daniel was right and I was probably wrong. But it's not just the story of a bunch of Indians that nobody's heard about. It's also the story of how what happened to us is playing out around us all the time, nationally, internationally, the removal and eradication of indigenous people, the genocide of people who just want to live in a place where they've lived for generations. And how does that play out across the subsequent generations? And even like, and I know we're not unique to this, but like where I live outside of Missoula now, Missoula is really struggling with a houseless population and how to deal with that. And we for more than 100 years were that houseless population. So when I see these folks that everybody wants to kind of shove out of sight, out of mind, I'm seeing play out all over again how we were treated. And I think it's important for us to not slide those things into the shadows, but to take them on head on and recognize that most of the things that we see as problems are really symptoms of a larger problem. And the story of my people, I think, is a great lens into kind of the history, not only of settler colonialism on Turtle Island, but also how that continues to play out in more subtle but equally direct ways in how we live with each other now. And the bottom line for me is over the decade plus that I was really paying attention and learning and talking to people and understanding what it means to be Anishinaabe, what it means to be Little Shell, what it means to be Métis, and who we are and who we were, and just finding this tremendous pride to still be here. And that is what I hope comes across in the book, is just the absolute gratitude I have for the sacrifices that people made to give me the opportunity to sit in a place like this and talk to people like you who do so much for communities who nobody else really wants to do anything for. So, I did my poet laureate celebration, and my book release celebration is going to be at the Missoula Public Library, which I call the People's House, because it's a place where everybody can go, whether they are, you know, bougie wine glass holding neoliberals or people who are in the library because it's the only place they're going to be warm that day. So libraries and bookstores are kind of the bastions, the last stand in some places of values that I think are so important, and give opportunities through publishing stories and publishing books and hand selling them and recommending them and reviewing them. And it's all so important. So I'm grateful for what you do. I'm grateful to Milkweed for the opportunity for my story to reach a wider audience. And I am very hopeful that you agree when you have your opportunity to read my books. So miigwech, chi miigwech, that is thank you very much again in Anishinaabe, Owen.